Hey guys, Alec here. In this video, I'm going to describe in excruciating detail exactly how to shiny hunt Darkrai. This includes everything from how to encounter Darkrai, all the way to how you should compose your party when you're battling Darkrai so that you don't fail to catch when you finally find that shiny. Given that the Darkrai event has already been out for over 10 years, there's already a lot of information out there on how to do this. But it's fragmented and kind of all over the place. That's why I wanted to make this video. It consolidates everything that I found into one bite-sized video so you don't have to go scouring the internet for 10-year-old web pages. With that said, let's first discuss what exactly is required to encounter Darkrai and how to fulfill these requirements. The first requirement we need to fulfill is owning Pokemon Platinum. This might seem obvious at first glance. However, it is possible to shiny hunt Darkrai in Diamond and Pearl as well. However, there are reports that you can't transfer Darkrai through Pokemon Bank if it's not from Pokemon Platinum. So therefore, I'm requiring Pokemon Platinum for myself. If you don't care about transferring to Pokemon Bank, then go for it. But for me personally, I care a lot about my digital Pokemon sprites. So I'm going to require Pokemon Platinum. The next requirement is pretty simple. You have to beat the game. You have to defeat the Elite Four. That's it. That's the requirement. The third requirement was a bit harder to find than the rest of the requirements in my research, and that's unlocking the National Pokedex. Now, in order to do this, all you need to do is talk to Rowan in Sandgem Town after you've completed the Sinnoh Pokedex. Now, don't worry, completing the Sinnoh Pokedex just simply means seeing all the Pokemon in the Sinnoh Pokedex. You don't have to catch all the Pokemon, you don't actually need to catch them all this time, don't worry, it's fine. Keep in mind that this does mean that you're going to need Manaphy's entry in the Sinnoh Pokedex as well. But don't worry, you don't actually need to buy Pokemon Ranger in order to do that. All you need to do is go to Mr. Backlot's mansion in Platinum and read the book that's behind him in his room, and that will give you the entry to Manaphy. The fourth and final requirement to encountering Darkrai is also the trickiest requirement, and that's obtaining the member card. If you're not aware, the member card was distributed by a mystery gift over 10 years ago in Gen 4. You might be wondering, how do I obtain this item that was distributed over 10 years ago and is no longer available? There's an exploit called the DNS exploit, which allows you to obtain Gen 4 and Gen 5 mystery gift items distributed by events all those many years ago. I won't go too into the technical details about how this works because I myself don't fully understand it, but to my knowledge, somebody is hosting a third-party server, which is allowing other people who connect to the server to gain these items by a mystery gift. Now, in order to take advantage of the DNS exploit to gain access to the member card, you need to do a couple of very specific things to your console, whether it be a DS or a 3DS. I won't go into too much detail about how to do it because there's a lot of awesome guides already on the internet about this, but I'll tell you what I did. Note that I own an old school DS. If you're playing Platinum on a 3DS, then what I did will be different than what you should do to take advantage of the DNS exploit. However, the guide that I posted in the description of the video below should still work for you and should still help you take advantage of the DNS exploit. With that said, what I did was I set up my phone as a hotspot for my DS to connect to. Next, I went to my game's WFC settings and changed a couple of the values, as you can see here. In order to gain access to the mystery gift in Pokemon Platinum, you need to go to Jubilife City, enter the TV station, go up to the 3rd floor, talk to the man next to the lady, and he'll ask you a question. Answer the first question with "everyone happy?" and then the next question with Wi-Fi connection. And for some reason, that will give you access to the mystery gift in Pokemon Platinum. Then go to the mystery gift option, obtain a gift by WFC, and you should start receiving items from 10 plus years ago. Now note that the items that you receive will be random, so you'll have to keep doing this until you eventually get the member card. Once you've received the member card by WFC, all you need to do is go into your save file and go to the nearest Pokemart. Inside, there should be someone standing next to the counter, and he will give you the member card. And that's it. That's all the requirements. Now that we've discussed how to encounter Darkrai, let's discuss Darkrai himself and how to catch him, because it's going to be an extremely long and arduous battle before we eventually catch him. According to a Gen 4 catch rate calculator, which I've linked in the description below, Darkrai has a catch rate of just 1.598% when it's afflicted with the sleep status and using a Premier Ball, which is what I'm going to be using to catch my shiny Darkrai, or at least try to catch it. Even if you're using a Dusk Ball and it's nighttime, the catch rate goes up to just 7.095%, which is still utterly atrocious. Because of these terrible catch rates, you're going to want to go into the battle prepared, or else you risk failing the catch for shiny Darkrai. There are a lot of setups that you can use that are probably just as good, if not better, than my setup, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to describe what I used, and you can make decisions based on that. So let's look at Darkrai's moveset for the battle. He's got Hypnosis, he's got Feint Attack, he's got Nightmare, and he's got Double Team. Plus, he has the Bad Dreams ability, which does 1/8 of the opposing Pokemon's maximum HP if the Pokemon is asleep. Notice that Darkrai knows both Hypnosis and Nightmare, and his ability is Bad Dreams, which also relies on the Pokemon being asleep. Are you noticing a theme here? Because of Darkrai's reliance on either putting the Pokemon to sleep or it already being asleep, it's going to play a huge part into how we compose our team moving forward. So, with that said, let's discuss how our party is composed. First, you're going to want a Pokemon that can learn False Swipe so that you can lower Darkrai's health safely. You don't want to kill the shiny Darkrai as soon as you encounter it. At least, if you're going to kill it like 20 to 30 turns in, not when you first encounter it. In my case, I taught Garchomp False Swipe because of his high attack and defense stats, and because I just had a Garchomp lying around and I thought, why not? Obviously, the Pokemon that you choose to use False Swipe is up to you, but no matter what Pokemon you choose, make sure you give them either a Chesto or a Lumberry so that their sleep status affliction is healed when they inevitably fall asleep while fighting and False Swiping Darkrai. I will personally be using a Lumberry because that's just what I had lying around, but Chesto, Lum, it shouldn't make a difference in this case. Our next Pokemon is going to need to do two things. Number one, it needs to be able to put Darkrai to sleep, because sleep is the status move which most increases your catch rate. And number two, it needs to be able to resist sleep, because Darkrai is going to be using Hypnosis all up in the battle, and it will also render not only Hypnosis but also Bad Dreams and Nightmare completely useless, effectively getting rid of 3 of Darkrai's 5 moves/abilities. Therefore, I'm going to be using Noctowl for my Pokemon, because it knows Insomnia as an ability and it knows Hypnosis as a move. It's up to you what you use, as long as it checks the boxes of resisting sleep and being able to inflict sleep. One thing to note is that since Hypnosis has an extremely low accuracy of 60%, because for some god knows why reason Game Freak decided to lower it to 60% when they had previously increased it to 70% in Diamond Pearl, which is of the same generation as Platinum. I don't know why Game Freak, because of that extremely low accuracy rate, we are going to be using a lot of X accuracies during the battle to ensure that Hypnosis will hit Darkrai. Furthermore, Darkrai will be using Double Team throughout the battle, so therefore Noctowl will also be using Defog to counteract this increase of evasiveness from Darkrai. One other thing I'd like to mention is Noctowl will also know Recycle, and that is because Noctowl will be holding a Leppa Berry, so that when we eventually run out of Hypnosis PP, which will happen because we are going to use Hypnosis a lot of the time, we can continuously use that Leppa Berry to increase the PP of Hypnosis, which will let us extend the battle a lot, since we'll be putting Darkrai to sleep a lot. If you find yourself in need of more Leppa Berries, like I found myself, you can either talk to the Berry Master, who is located to the left of Hearthome City, or you can find them on various routes in the game. Now, I personally just kept off resetting for the Berry Master until he gave me a Leppa Berry, then I planted one using some growth mulch, which decreased the time from 16 to 12 hours, then took some of those Leppa Berries, then planted those, and then got more Leppa Berries. So I would suggest doing something like that. It is a little time consuming, but it is definitely worth it to get that extra Hypnosis PP, because if you run out of Hypnosis, you are extremely likely to fail the shiny when it eventually appears. The other 4 Pokemon that you have in your party shouldn't really matter that much because you'll probably have Noctowl or the equivalent Pokemon that you chose out for the majority of the battle, but I'll describe the 4 Pokemon that I'm using for your reference, just in case that influences your decisions at all. I'll be using Roserade for backup paralysis in case I can't use Hypnosis from Noctowl anymore. I'll also be using Primeape because he knows Vital Spirit, which resists Sleep, and because he's a fighting type, which will resist the Dark type move of Feint Attack from Darkrai. I'll also be using Gyarados because Gyarados is badass, and I'll be using Gastrodon because Gastrodon is UAF. Now that we're prepared, let's talk about how to actually start the encounter with Darkrai. First, you'll need to fly to Canalave City. This is located in the far west side of the map. Once you have flown there, you will need to go to the bottom left corner of the map where Sailor Eldritch's house is located. Go inside and you'll see that Sailor Eldritch's son is having nightmares, whispering something about dark. Wonder who that could be. This is only available if you have already unlocked the National Pokedex and beaten the Elite Four. If you haven't done that yet, you'll just see his son chilling, just kind of being a actual normal kid instead of having nightmares about Darkrai. After talking with Sailor Eldritch's son and wife, you can actually talk to Sailor Eldritch himself. He is located to the right of his house next to a boat. He will ask you if you want to go to Full Moon Island, and if you respond with yes, he'll take you, and you'll arrive at Full Moon Island. Once you're there, just follow the linear path north and to the east, and there you'll see one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. The legendary Cresselia Pokemon is waiting for you at Full Moon Island. If you go and interact with Cresselia, Cresselia will leave and leave behind a Lunar Wing. Pick up the Lunar Wing and put it in your bag because you're gonna need it later. After talking with Sailor Eldritch and leaving Full Moon Island, go back to Sailor Eldritch's house and talk to his son with the Lunar Wing in your pocket. Once you do, you'll give him the Lunar Wing and it will cure him from his nightmares. He will no longer be dreaming about Darkrai. The last thing we need to do is go to the top right of Canalave City. There is a hotel that previously was locked throughout the entire duration of the game. However, with the members card, you can now enter. Go inside and you'll meet this really creepy dude who will tell you to go to sleep. You go to sleep and you start dreaming of Darkrai. You'll find yourself on an island that is very similar but also very different from Full Moon Island, in that it's inverted and it's not grassy, but rather sandy and dirty. Follow the linear path to a forest similar to Cresselia's, and you'll find none other than Darkrai on New Moon Island. Let's talk about the battle itself. Here, I'm going to be battling normal Darkrai to simulate what battling and hopefully catching shiny Darkrai would look like in theory. During this, we're not only battling Darkrai, but time itself. Because of Darkrai's extremely low catch rate, we only have a certain amount of turns before it's going to struggle and eventually kill itself. Therefore, we need to be mindful about how we use our turns as efficiently as possible. Obviously, you're going to want to lead with the Pokemon that you chose as your false swiper first. In my case, I chose Garchomp. In your case, you might have chosen a different Pokemon. Shouldn't really matter that much as long as you can get Darkrai to 1 health in minimum of like 3 hits. For me, it takes 3 hits. For you, it might take 2 hits, maybe even 1 hit. That would be ideal, maybe if you get a lucky crit or something. Also, you'll notice that Darkrai will be putting our Garchomp to sleep right here. If you decided to give your Garchomp a Chesto or a Lumberry, this is where it'll come in handy, as you just saw. Here, it didn't really matter that much, but it's good to have just in case. Once your Darkrai is at 1 health, you can switch to your Noctowl or whatever Pokemon you're deciding to use equivalently. Here you'll see that Feint Attack did a lot of damage, obviously because of crit, but because Darkrai is also just a strong Pokemon. This is why we come prepared with X Defense, As you can just see, I used one just in case Darkrai uses Feint Attack again. It might have killed Noctowl if we didn't use the X defense. Now that I feel like Noctowl's not about to die immediately, I start using Hypnosis. And one thing you'll notice is that Hypnosis is going to miss a lot in this battle. And that's because Hypnosis's accuracy is absolutely atrocious. So, in order to counteract that, we come prepared with a lot of X accuracies. And in fact, during this battle, I probably could have used X accuracies instead of spamming Hypnosis at the beginning in order to be more efficient with my turns, saving both my Noctowl's, Hypnosis's PP as well as Darkrai's PP. One thing I'd like to point out is this. If your Pokemon is slower than Darkrai, take note of how long it's asleep for. In Gen 4, sleep lasts between 2 to 5 turns. So, if Darkrai is asleep for 5 turns, then you know on the next turn it's going to wake up and you can preemptively use Hypnosis to save an extra turn so that it doesn't use an extra PP. Here, as I mentioned, you'll notice that I'm using all my items while Darkrai is asleep to be as efficient as possible. I am trying to predict when Darkrai is going to wake up so that he doesn't use as much PP as possible. Keep in mind, I haven't even thrown a Premier Ball at Darkrai yet. This is all just set up so that it eventually makes the catching process a lot simpler. And now I have thrown my first Premier Ball and noticed that Darkrai didn't want to stay in it even once. Also, you'll eventually notice that I use Defog when Darkrai uses Double Team. That's because, I mean, obviously Darkrai is going to be more evasive and harder to hit if it uses Double Team with Hypnosis. So I just use Defog to counter that because I want Hypnosis to be as reliable as possible. One last thing to note is you should be keeping track of Darkrai's PP usage throughout the entire battle. I know it's a lot to track, but it's extremely important because you'll probably get to a point where Darkrai only has maybe 5 to 10 PP left for some of his moves. And at that point, you'll probably want to start thinking about using a higher catch rate ball instead of a Premier Ball like what I'm doing. So keep that in mind while you're battling Darkrai. It's extremely important. You don't want it to struggle to death. I've had it happen to me. You don't want that to happen to you. It's a terrible feeling to have your shiny commit seppuku and kill itself. So please, for the love of God, track Darkrai's PP usage. So, to recap, we discussed the requirements of encountering Darkrai, how to compose a team to catch Darkrai, and what to do in the battle itself when we are hunting for shiny Darkrai. If you think I missed anything or have any questions or feedback, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I know some people are going to argue the legitimacy of this Darkrai given that the event is technically no longer active and it's not being supported by Game Freak. For me, a shiny is legitimate if you still have to do some sort of hunt for it, whether that be soft resets, Masuda, etc. The beautiful thing about shiny Pokemon is what you make them. Not what anybody else says, but what you say about your own shiny Pokemon. Whether you got them in a hacked raid in Sword and Shield, or whether you reset your game 12,666 times. It doesn't matter. It's all up to you because it's your shiny Pokemon. If you liked this video and you're interested in more shiny mythical or shiny legendary hunts and how to do them, feel free to subscribe because I will be making more videos on how to do that. With that, I wish you the best of luck on your shiny Darkrai hunt. Take care.